Hey there, how you doing today? Thanks for joining me. Look at this jar. It's lovely, isn't it? It's got all kinds of coffee related stuff on there. You'd expect to find coffee in here, and you'd be right. There's coffee beans. But if I put something else into it, it would be kind of a why is there chocolate in the coffee jar? Although if you're in my house, you wouldn't be surprised. I got another coffee jar here filled with coffee. I got a jar with oatmeal, so I guess call that an oatmeal jar. I got a container, let's call it a jar. It's plastic with sugar in it. Sugar jar. But what if I took the coffee and put it in the oatmeal jar? Is it still, take out the oatmeal first, still an oatmeal jar? It's a coffee jar now. Or if I took the coffee beans out of the coffee jar, filled it up with Kit Kats. Now it's a Kit Kat jar, which is good. I want some of those. A jar with nothing in it, put these back, I should, can basically be called a jar, but once you see what's inside, you describe it that way. People are kind of like that. Hair color, skin color, clothes we wear. It's only superficial, really. It's what inside that really defines us. You might call it character. And no matter how we dress up the outside, what's inside is what we're ultimately going to be known for. Transparency is a word we like to use. We want people to be transparent. Another way of saying that we want to know what's inside. We want to know who they really are. Because you can see what's inside this jar, but this one you can't until you open it up and then you find out. I don't know if we really want that, because what is inside for so many of us, all of us, it's not the greatest. We don't really want to see that. Like, you could fill it up with worms and spiders, a jar, your sugar jar, your coffee jar, and now it's an insect jar. And no, I don't want to look at that. I mean, some people think that's cool, but no, I don't want to look at that. I'm sorry. Maybe what we want more is oh pig. Maybe we want something like this where, yeah, there's something in there. So you can't even, there's water in here. But I just want to have a glimpse so I kind of know that I can trust you is maybe more what we want. It used to be that we had privacy. You could maintain a public image, hire a company, keep you looking great. And we don't trust that anymore because we just know there's too many. The advent of mobile recording devices and the worldwide internet has really put all that asunder. There's no privacy hardly anymore. It feels like we can capture people in all kinds of their worst moments and post it and make fun of them. We're not surprised when popular figures, movie stars, singers, athletes, politicians, we're not surprised. Preachers, when the outside image doesn't match up what's inside. We're not surprised by that at all anymore. And one of the reasons we're not surprised is because we know how nasty we are inside. We know what we're like when that person we're talking about, we think they can't hear us, or we hope, like nobody's recording what we're saying right now. We're all pretty nasty from time to time. Even so, we keep hoping that people would have integrity and have character. It's a bit of a double-edged sword because we want people to be real and honest, but we also want them to be better than we know we are. So we want to have our cake and eat it too, in a way. But what's your character like? When no one's around that you're trying to impress or look good for, who are you? Who are you when life turns up the heat? One thing that almost always brings about or shows forth our character is when things don't go our way. When life's hard, people see the real us. Pressure brings out, are we still smiling, peaceful, kind? Do we lose our temper? Are we rolling with the punches, or are we looking for something to punch? Probably a bit of both. Sometimes we might even surprise ourselves. I know I have, time to time, surprised myself. Like, why was I so angry? I can look back and I can say, why did I can't believe I was so mad about that. And if I was myself talking to myself, I'd be like, buddy, calm down. It's not such a big deal. But sometimes we have things that we hide from ourselves. There's things that are buried inside. We don't realize they're there until adversity comes, pressure comes, kind of like the metalworking analogy where you purify silver or whatever. Like heat brings the dross up to the surface and then you scrape that off and then you got what's pure left behind there. Sometimes when the heat's turned up in our lives, stuff comes up that we didn't even know was there. We thought we dealt with a long time ago. It comes back. When life's hard, that's when what's inside really becomes clear. And the tragic thing for a lot of people is what's coming out or coming up is despair, hopelessness, no future. They're ending it. I got nothing to go on anymore. And I'll say again, if you've watched any of my videos, part of the reasons why we renamed ourselves Hope Chapel is because we want to give hope to people. We want to say there is hope. Even when life is pretty rocky and things don't look great, there's hope. We believe God can help us, and God does help us. God is able, God is willing, and God will. And he listens when we call out to him. And when you put your trust in God, he can help you out. We're not perfect by any means. If you followed us around with your phone recording us, we wouldn't be thrilled by what you could see. We're just regular people like everybody else, make all kinds of mistakes, have all kinds of bad days. But what helps us is God. God in us helps us to be better than we are and helps us to hang in there when life's hard. And another guy who hung in there when life was hard was Joseph. I mean, Joseph was really tested. His story's in Genesis 39. I'll read that off my little Bible program here. Genesis 39. Joseph was taken to Egypt by the Ishmaelite traders, purchased by Potiphar, an Egyptian officer. He was the captain of the guard for Pharaoh. But God was with Joseph, so he succeeded in everything he did, and he tried to serve the Egyptian master. Potiphar noticed this, realized God was with him, giving him success in everything he did. So soon he made him charge over everything, put him in charge of his entire household, everything he owned, even what he was eating. Everything ran so smoothly. All his crops, his livestock flourished because God was blessing him. So Potiphar gave him even more. Potiphar put him in charge of absolutely everything. He didn't even think for himself. And it says here, Joseph was a very handsome and well-built young man. Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him lustfully. Come sleep with me, she demanded. Joseph said, no way. Look, my master trusts me with everything in his entire household. No one's more in charge or has more authority than I do. Held back nothing from me except for you. Why would I do such a wicked thing? It would be a great sin before God to do this. But she kept on putting pressure on Joseph day after day, and he kept refusing, and he tried to stay away from her as much as he could. But one day, they were together and no one else was around. She grabbed his cloak and said, come on, sleep with me. Joseph tore himself away, left his cloak behind, and ran from the house. And when she saw that she was holding his cloak and he had fled, she called out to her servants. Soon the other men came running, and she said, look, my husband has brought this Hebrew slave here to make fools of us. He's come into my room trying to rape me, but I screamed. When he heard me scream, he ran outside and got away, but he left his cloak here. So she held on to the cloak until her husband came home, told him the same story. Potiphar was furious. Put you in charge of everything, and now you're trying to go after my wife. Had him thrown in jail, where the king's prisoners are held, and there he remained. But the Lord was with Joseph in prison and showed him his faithful love. And the Lord made Joseph a favorite with the prison warden. Before long, the warden put Joseph in charge of all the other prisoners over everything that happened in the prison. The warden had no more worries because Joseph took care of everything. The Lord was with him and caused everything he did to succeed. So Joseph's story just keeps going from bad to worse. First, his brothers are hating on him. They're going to kill him, and then they decide to sell him off. Then he's sold as a slave in Egypt, far away from his home. And then when things seem to be going okay, he's accused of rape, thrown in jail. And you have to wonder, like, did he ever think when he was thrown in jail there, maybe I should have just done it? Like, maybe it would have been better. Like, maybe my conscience would have been bothering me, but at least I wouldn't be in prison. That if I had done this thing with my master's wife, got that over with, and then I could still be living pretty good as the top ranked guy in my master's household. Probably not. Probably he never thought that. I doubt it. Joseph doesn't seem to be that kind of a guy. His conscience wouldn't allow it. That's a line I just can't cross. And that's what we call character. One thing Joseph shows us, though, is that character doesn't keep you out of trouble. Potiphar's wife was insulted that Joseph kept on turning her down. So when he fled, she finally snapped and said, "That's it. I've got his coat here. I'm going to get him in trouble." And so she did. She told a lie. It was believed. Like, because who are you going to believe, a slave or a lie? So he goes from slave to prisoner. And all he was trying to do was his best. He was just trying to do his best. And that's what can really hurt, can't it? Like, there's all kinds of things that can hurt. But this one, for some of us, for me, maybe for you, you're trying to do your best. You're trying to help people even. You never are going out of your way to, on purpose, run somebody down, hurt somebody. You're not doing that, right? But somebody somewhere records it, whatever, your friend, your whatever. Now they're mad at you. You don't know why, really. You're in trouble. People are running you down, talking about you. Fingers are being pointed. You're just trying to do, now everybody mob mentality, like on media and social media and stuff like that can really get going, right? Pile onto people and what an idiot and all that kind of stuff. They weren't doing that at you. They weren't trying. You weren't trying to hurt anybody. That's when it's really hard. Really hard not to become bitter. And this is a test right here for Joseph. Because if Joseph was truly a bad person, this would have brought it out. He might have cursed God, cursed Potiphar, raged, pouted in his prison. That woman, I'll get her. If I get out of here, she better look out, that kind of thing. But he proved his character one more time. Proved to be so trustworthy that he won over the prison warden. And soon, he was put in charge of the whole prison because everything was running smoothly. No one doubted his honesty and his good intents there. And Joseph is a great encouragement, really, when you think about these things. Like, he wasn't living the dream, and I'm not living the dream, and not many of us are. But instead of being grumpy, Joseph challenges us to try and be a good person of good character, someone who does their job well. Like the place I'm working at now, people haven't had time off in over a year. And we're all really starting to feel it. I can see it on their faces. It's not even pleasant in the shift change to talk to people anymore because everybody's just worn out and tired. And it's busy because lots of people are coming to work where I live. They open things up a bit. And so we're really busy at a hotel. Nobody's very happy. And it's easy to kind of feel that too. Just, we're overworked, we're underpaid. And that's not even a cliche. It's true. We're overworked and we're underpaid, and we haven't had a break. But what's my attitude there? Like thinking of Joseph, falsely accused, put in prison, and yet he turned to prison into a pleasant place as much as maybe it could be, because he was there. That's the thing I feel a challenge in my heart. Like, is my workplace a pleasant place because I'm there? Or am I just another inmate who's kind of carrying on and grumbling about management and all that kind of stuff? Or am I filled up with God and making this a pleasant place to be in somehow? Like we have the little song, "Brighten the Corner Where You Are." Am I brightening the corner where I am, even if the corner isn't a place I want to be right now? And I think the only way that can happen is if God, because that doesn't come natural. Like Joseph's character was like that because his life was filled up with God, and his trust was in God, and God helped him, and God brought him through. That's the only explanation I can come to. because I can't see that happening in the natural. Like, that's just a really amazing person that can go through all these things and keep a good attitude in prison after all these things have happened. And it has to be, I think, because he had faith in God. No matter what was going on the outside, things that he just couldn't control, he believed in God's promise. Able to keep his cool because he really believed the dreams God had given him. God told him, you're going to be a ruler one day. And he's in a place where it's like, are you kidding me? My brothers hate me. They sold me. I was a slave. Now I'm a prisoner. And I'm going to be a ruler? How's that coming about? But somehow he trusted in God. He didn't feel the need to pout, rage, get justice. Trusted in God, kept doing what he knew was right. And if we trust in God, we can have a good character in the days we live in too. Because we could get into online arguments, or whenever we meet people complaining about this and that, we could be angry, depressed. We've all felt those things in varying measures here and there throughout the year for sure. But when we come back to a place of trusting in God, we can have peace, we can have some joy, and we can be pleasant to be around. We need pleasant people to be around, don't we? People that lift us up. It's so good to sit. Like last Sunday we just sat out in the yard and had a little brunch together, and it was pleasant because the company was pleasant because it was centered around Jesus Christ and centered around the things of God and not about all the problems and troubles of the world. We need to lift people up with encouraging words of hope in God. Anyone who knew who Joseph was at this time in the world would tell you there's a criminal. And Egyptians didn't like Hebrews to begin with. So here's another, like you notice Potiphar's wife said, that Hebrew slave. Just another useless Hebrew around us here. We don't like these guys. And this guy, thought he was a big shot in this guy's household, but look at who he was. Rapist, criminal, the worst of the worst. That's what the world saw. But Joseph put his trust in God, put his trust in who God said he was. You're going to be a ruler one day. I know you're not a rapist, like God's saying to Joseph, and you're going to be a ruler one day. And we need that too. Like, who does God say we are? Because there's a lot of people that are checking out because they don't see any hope anymore. Like in another round of stuff, it's going to be really hard on people. You need God. Because if we rely on God to tell us who we are and where we're going and how we should be and how we can measure success, what our goals are, we can keep good character and we can keep hope and we can keep looking up even in the worst of times. Instead of acting like a diva, demanding justice, got to see the manager, we can act with kindness, respect. We can even be, as Paul wrote to the Corinthians, you can give up your rights, the things you have right to for the sake of others, to help and to bless others. And there's arguments there that I don't want to get into. But for a person who believes in God, the question is simply, am I living for God or am I living for me? What's in this jar? Trust in God, faith in God, living for God, love, hope, peace? Or is it all about me, myself, and I? Anxiety, worry, anger, indignation? I don't want to make it sound like having a good character is easy. And even like Joseph shows us, having a character doesn't keep you out of trouble. It's not. And it's in our nature to demand our way and get angry and pout or hang our heads or feel sorry for ourselves when life doesn't go our way. But God can help us. God can change our hearts. He can make us more like Jesus. And not only can we find peace, our peace in our situation, but we can show that peace to others. We can make this prison more pleasant for everyone around. We can ease other people's burdens, maybe even lead them to a place of peace and trust in God. Well, life is a bummer. And listen, life's a bummer right now. Bummer for the whole world, I think, most of us. God can help us be people of good character, be a blessing to those around us. So what's in your jar? What are you full of? Is it something you don't want anyone to see? You want to keep that hidden in there? Something you're embarrassed by? Something that brings you down, brings down the people around you? Jesus can help you. Jesus can fill you up with his love. He can fill you with peace. He can give you joy. He can give you a future. Hope for a better day. Jesus can give you those things. Next week, I'd like to talk about who we are in Christ. He can fill you up right now. That anger, depression, unforgiveness, you can have it replaced with hope, peace, love, forgiveness from God. Just ask Jesus to help you, and he will. Ask him right now. He'll do it. Just say, help me. Just say, Jesus, help me. Jesus, help me. Like, I'm afraid, or I'm really depressed. I don't know what the point is of getting up in the morning anymore. I hate my job. I hate the world I live in. I can't see my friends. Help me. Jesus, help me. Jesus, save me. Jesus, fill me up. I'm empty. I'm barren. I need some. And he will. He'll help you right now. Just call out to him. And maybe the prison that you're living in, the anger, the fear, the lack of a future, the unhealthy things you do to cope with that, is going to start looking different. Things are going to start to change. Your situation may not change, but what's inside here is going to change. And what's inside here is going to help you cope, because God will help you. God will set you free. You can be free even when life is hard, just like Joseph was. Even though he was in prison, he was still free because he was trusting in God. And you can trust him too. Give God a try. And if you already believe in him, hang in there. Put your trust in God. God bless you. Have a great day.